man, they've got great stage presence, and you know them, and they're super walking with the Lord. That's a tough battle to be like.
I think that would be something like, because really worship is so much more than just the quality of their sound.
Yep.
But like you mentioned, stage presence, and sometimes people, when you say stage presence, people's like,
the quality versus like the heart, you know, because like my gut reaction's like, oh man, I want like the best guitar player up there, I want the best piano player, I want the best singer up there, but it's like, you know, I go to Lexington, which is only 2.5 hours down the road. It's not like across the country.
Right.
But
Right.
even the culture at the first church I went, so this is not the church where I did the academy. This was the first church I went there. It was like a mega church. And like, you know, I'm kind of like getting to know the worship team. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I'm not like, you know, judging, even though I can't say people don't judge me. It's like, oh, we're supposed to judge you, Christian to Christian.
right.
And I'm just like, wow, this is a big culture shock compared to like the worship team members I know at home, West Virginia, and this, you know, other church. I'm like,
Right.
whoa, they're crazy talented.
Yeah.
But it's like their intent is a little maybe questionable, you know, just off their actions. I'm only going off of their actions and how they talk and stuff.
Right.
So that was kind of a big shock, but it's like you obviously you want both. You want the best of both, really
Right.
good quality and a good heart, but I just think I'm constantly growing and trying to get out of my preferences of like I'm going to go with the talent over the heart, because I
Right.
don't think Jesus would necessarily do that. But
Right.
I think they're important. I mean, because you could use the whole excuse of like you don't want to be distracting on stage.
Right.
So it's like if you're that bad of a singer or musician where you're distracting someone,
Right.
I can use the quality argument.
Right.
But if that person's just not very good, but man, they've got great stage presence, and you know them, and they're super walking with the Lord, that's a tough battle to be like.
I think that would be something like, because really worship is so much more than just the quality of their sound.
Yep.
But like you mentioned, stage presence, and sometimes people, when you say stage presence, people's like, they get a, you know, they turn off right then. So like, you know, what you talk, but stage presence is important, because if you're a strong worship leader, but you're not a very strong singer, well, why not be open and honest about it and say, you know, you are a great worship leader. You worship and you lead people by your actions, but your vocal's not very strong. So we're going to bring you down a little bit in the mix.
Yeah.
You're still there, but you're going to be down because your ability is not quite there.
Yeah.
But you lead people in worship by how you worship. That's important. That's just as important as the person who sings really well, but then they just stand there and don't move and don't lead anybody in their actions. They only provide a good sounding voice.
They don't even got the side to side, man. At least get
Right.
the side to side going.
Yeah,
You know?
and I know sometimes it's like you're nervous, so you're just standing still, but we got to break out of that and we gotta lead the people in worship.
Yeah.
Because just singing isn't worship. That's just a tool that we use, you know. But
worship leading, you're
Right.
leading the congregation. So it's like just because you're not leading a song doesn't mean that you can't be over on the side. Like you're just in your zone worshiping.
Right.
And I love that. It just brings a different energy
yeah,
to the team when like they're just worshiping.
I call everybody on our team worship leaders.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the worship pastor, but I'm not the worship leader.
Yeah, that's a good terminology.
I pastor them, and they are all leading the congregation in worship. So I call all of them, even our guitarists, our drummers, they're worship leaders.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to go to that culture. Is like, no matter what you do on the platform, you're leading people, and so you're viewed as a leader. So when you go to Walmart, don't be talking angry and talking bad or whatever, because that points back to our team, our church, and ultimately back to the Lord. So if you're acting that way somewhere else, you're shining a bad light on everything that you're representing on a Sunday morning.
If you're on stage leading a church, you're held to a higher standard, and that's just my opinion.
Right.
And I think it's a true opinion.
Yeah.
You're held to a higher standard, man.
Yeah.
It's just like,
that's true.
Don't be out of the church acting a fool. I mean,
right.
It's just like, oh, don't he? Because you always run into that one person where they know you. Like, oh, don't they sing at the church, or don't they do this? And now they're gonna have their own thoughts of like, oh man, they're just they're not believable.
Right. Right. And that goes back to what you were saying a moment ago. Like, you choose quality over like the lifestyle of the person. It's like, for like a youth group, I think it really doesn't matter so much, because you're kind of you're giving that maybe that guitarist who's not living right, but you're giving him an outlet and you're getting him involved with the group.
Yeah.
But on a Sunday morning for the church itself, it's like, I don't think that's a place to give just somebody an outlet to play because they're really good.
Yep.
But we're supposed to be carrying, and we're supposed to be like carrying the presence of the Lord.
Yep.
We're supposed to be ushering in the presence. And if somebody is on your platform that is not living right, I'm not saying people have to be perfect, but they need to be righteous before the Lord. And so if they are doing things that the Lord disapproves of, and they don't care about it, or it doesn't matter to them, they're going to live how they want to live, but they're super talented, they won't be anointed.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like the anointing wouldn't be there at that point.
And so I would rather have a mediocre singer who is anointed and who lives their life for the Lord and loves the Lord with all their heart and trying to live right, than the most talented singer ever that I have to keep telling them, like, hey, you got to watch your mouth. You can't be cussing in church.
Weird.
You can't be drinking in the bar on Saturday night and coming to church on Sunday morning, and you can't be sleeping with someone, and it's all these worldly things that, and a lot of churches, they don't care. They're looking for talent. And I think that goes back to our conversation before too, is like, are we, I'm very careful about like who we put on the platform and who's on our team.
Yep.
I don't want somebody that, number one, you got to know the Lord, but number two is like, you got to be trying to live according to what the Lord wants us to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't align with that, we're going to have a lot of struggles within the team. So we got to be walking together. And I think some churches, they don't care. They're wanting talent over.
I mean, really, that should be the most important question of a development, to be honest,
Right.
or a worship training program is
Mm-hmm.
number one question. How's your walk with Jesus?